Hi, Zena from Mickey Kelly here, and today we're going to do another 3-color challenge. So here we have our palette of all of our watercolors. I am just going to I did squeeze out a little bit of white gouache. I'm going to take that out of the rotation, but otherwise, any of our colors are fair game, so let's get playing. So how this works, I'm going to pick 3 random colors and then try to paint something with them. My first in this series wasn't my favorite painting, but it was still good practice. And now we're going to pick 3 more colors and decide kind of what to paint based on the colors we get. So I'm going to go ahead and spin. And I'm not looking. This is our first color. Our first color is Van Dyke Brown again. We did have this color last time. Let's spin again. Now, if we get all 3 the same colors, I might think there's something wrong with my spinning technique. But no, this is definitely a different color this time. This is Pyrrole Scarlet from Daniel Smith. And one more color. We'll go with this one here. And Crimson Lake. So we are definitely painting in the red-orange family today. I'm going to be using just the lid to my palette here as the painting mixtures. I'll mix our 3 colors up a little bit and then we'll get painting. So just to kind of see what they look like here. Van Dyke Brown is a very warm brown. I know it's a little hard to tell with the plastic palette. We'll also swatch them in our sketchbook. So there is a little bit of the Van Dyke Brown. I have not used this color a whole lot. This Pyrrole Scarlet is a very kind of orangey red. And then we also have Crimson Lake. And this one is a much pinkier red. Blue red, cooler red, whatever you want to call it. So there's our colors, and then maybe we'll try mixing them, see what we get as our palette, and then we'll work on our painting. So stay tuned. So today we're going to be working in this Hanmule watercolor sketchbook. Haven't decided exactly what supplies I'm going to use, but I do have a size 8 round brush, a size 1 round brush, a size 10 quill brush, 2 water jars, my 3 colors, and my palette over here, as well as a cloth to wipe down. So I think that I'm going to start this. I'm going to probably do something floral, but I think I'm going to start this by just doing some very loose, suggestive watercolor on the paper. Oh, before we get to that, let's swatch our colors. Alright, so let's go ahead and first get our Van Dyke Brown. Van Dyke Brown is a very warm chocolate brown. Then we have the Pyrrole Scarlet, a very orangey red. Then the Crimson Lake, which I did mistakenly call Scarlet Lake multiple times previously. My apologies. And I just want to kind of mix these just to see what we get a little bit. So I'm going to mix a little bit of the Van Dyke Brown with the Pyrrole Scarlet. Just to kind of see what we're working with. Now let's do Van Dyke Brown and Crimson Lake. I'm trying to do about 50-50 on these just to get an idea. Oh, I don't know about this one. I feel like this is just giving us an even chocolatey or chocolate brown. Maybe a dark rose color. Okay, on the paper, I like that a lot better. So we have a dark crimson, and then we'll mix the Pyrrole Scarlet and the Crimson Lake. And that's giving us almost like a more, what I would call like true red, lipstick red. So those are our three colors and then our color combinations. And let's go ahead and paint. I'm going to switch to my larger brush here just to get some nice big kind of colors down. I don't really know what I'm going to paint, kind of floral-y, but we're just going to try to start with some kind of intuitive watercolor. So I'm kind of thinking this could almost be like a hibiscus, but we don't want to go too detailed. I just dropped some of our mixture of the two reds in here. No, this was a mixture of the Van Dyke Brown and the Crimson Lake. Just getting some loose color there. We don't have any greens for flower petals or flower leaves, forgot words, but we do have brown to be kind of like our branch or stem or whatever, so we'll use that to our advantage. I'm kind of imagining this as being more of like a bloom, but I don't really know yet. We're just playing with color here. A little too watery. Let's let it drip a little. And then we can let that dry. And maybe we'll do one last bloom kind of over here. Maybe we went kind of dark on this one, so maybe we'll do like a little lighter. And maybe we'll get that kind of true red by mixing our two red colors. This still came out kind of pinky. Add a little bit more of the Pyrrole Scarlet. All right, so there's our first kind of shapes. I'm gonna add just some like very kind of suggestions of stems, and then we'll kind of see what we want to do from here. I might need to look at a picture of a hibiscus, but we don't want to go too literal. We're kind of going very interpretive and intuitive here. Just getting that Van Dyke Brown a little thicker. Maybe our brown will be our leaves. Why not? I feel like it's not a floral without some sort of leaf shapes. Alright, and then this one is kind of all up in the other flowers business, but we'll kind of just paint in leaf shape that kind of goes behind the other flowers. So here's our starting point. Very, I don't know, fall-ish florals. I kind of want to do a different kind of shade of brown. I'm kind of adding a little bit of that Crimson Lake. I feel like the top was a little neglected. And we're just adding in some drops of color to make that leaf more interesting. And while these are a little bit damp, we'll do the same thing here. And I'm totally okay with this kind of bleeding water moving around because this is definitely a little interpretive. All right, so here is our base of colors. We're going to maybe kind of work around some of the wet areas. I don't want to work too wet on wet here, but I do want to add in some details while we still have this going on. I'm going to kind of just move my sketchbook a little bit just to have the colors drip. In interesting ways. Kind of just using gravity here to move my water around on the paper. That's going to help it dry hopefully a little faster as well. I have seen some artists use like a little kind of craft dryer to dry their watercolors faster. I might need to get into something like that just to test it out. But what I'm thinking now is that we kind of see how we want to do like stamens for these flowers. And they tend to have their centers a little darker with the stamen coming out. It looks like for a lot of them the stamens are kind of the same color as the flower, and then they have like the little pollen bits or whatever coming out. I really like how this is drying kind of with that darker center. I don't want to ruin it, but we're going to go in there and we're going to make that our flowers kind of darker center. And we're just going to blend that out a little bit. Went a little too vibrant there. Just tapping with my brush. And we're going to take our brush, very dry. I'm going to use the size 1 for this. Very dry. And kind of flick out some suggestions of the stamens. Oh, hibiscus tend to have like, some I see have like 1 and some have like a couple. I don't know. We'll go with it. Alright, we're going to do something similar with this one. Kind of go with a semi-dry brush. And we'll flick out one kind of thicker piece. And then for this one, I don't really know where I want my center of my flower to be. Maybe this will be kind of like looking straight on the flower. This one is a little more of a blobby shape. And we're just going to kind of brush this out to be like the texture of the flower. And we'll give this one a nice dark red. Center coming out. Alright, so we do not have yellow, but I think we're going to use maybe just some of the Pyrrole Scarlet, which is the lightest color here, to kind of do those little pollen bulbs. I kind of like that. Same thing here. And for my 1 is 3, we don't really, whatever, we're using our imagination here. We'll kind of maybe do like 1 bigger one just to kind of cover up our mistake a little bit. Maybe those other things will become kind of just like the strokes of the petals. And this leaf is still rather wet, but I kind of like the effect there. I'm actually thinking that this one is a little too dry, so I'm going to go back and add some water just to make it not quite so rigid. And then same here, we're just adding a little water. Just tapping our wet brush to give some more interesting effects. I really like how that one's kind of like diffused. All right, with this same brush, we're gonna kind of brush out some flower petal marks on this one. Just to be like different kind of textures going on. Just gonna soften them a little bit. I have a big, beautiful hibiscus bush outside of my house, like in our backyard. And I'm really trying to just go based off, but not too much off of any particular picture, but just the look and feel as I look back in my hibiscus. You know, these aren't obviously realistic. We're going for a very interpretive, intuitive kind of feel for these. Trying to keep my strokes very light, not super deliberate, because this is, again, trying to be very just intuitive, listening to what the watercolor is telling us. I'm carving out a little bit more of my petal shapes here on this one slightly. These are not going for hyper realistic, but I do want to like kind of give where one petal ends and another begins a little better, just by adding some shadow and some kind of edge detail. We're going to soften anything that comes up kind of as a hard edge, though, with a nice some brush strokes just to kind of soften that a little. So for this one, we're just going to give some, this one's still pretty wet, some very light upwards brush strokes. And I'm going to just do a little bit of shadow on the bottom. I'm trying to get a little bit darker color there on the bottom. And let's give our leaves a little bit of definition. Going to go in and give our leaves kind of like that middle. Just so you get, hey, these brown things are the leaves. Right, so this is very kind of quick, easy, loose, interpretive. I'm definitely liking the way everything is kind of driving here. Sometimes I like to use these kind of quick challenge warm-ups to maybe inform a future piece. Like, we'll take this and what we learn from it, or maybe if there's a shape we really like I really like this shape of this flower, we'll maybe use that shape in a future painting. So this is loose and interpretive, but it can still inform maybe some more detailed work a little better. One of my goals, as I've said, for this year is to focus more on loose interpretive watercolor versus going for more rigidly kind of precise looking watercolor. I'm definitely a fan of this kind of loose interpretive style, and I want to reflect that more in my own work. So I'm mixing up some tapping Pyrrole Scarlet and and I'll mix up a little tapping, another shade of red. I got a little bit on this page. I'm just going to block that so we can still use this page for something else in the future. I'll try to wipe that up a little bit, but this is a sketchbook for practice, not finished pieces, so if we have a little bit of orange mess on this page, I'm not super concerned. Alright, so here is our 3-color challenge of loose interpretive hibiscus. Maybe I'll take another look here at what this looks like fully dry. But overall, I am pretty happy with kind of how this very quick, 15-minute of painting kind of sketch came out. I hope you enjoyed and thanks for watching.